everyone. This is Kirsten Thompson with More Than Magic. I am your host, and I'm very excited to have two special guests here in the studio. Before we actually get into the interview and I introduce these amazing women to you, I have a favor to ask. Please like this video and share it. You don't even have to know what it's about because it's going to be a good show. So just share it now and get it out of the way. That way we can have as many people as possible tuning in. So we have two guests here. We have Veronica Simpkins and Ashley Green, and they are with an organization, a nonprofit based here in San Antonio called Latched Support. I had never heard of them before. Shout out to Tiffany Galvan for connecting us. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Yes.
So we have a tradition here at the show, because I believe that my sisters' names should be amplified, they should be pronounced correctly, and I think our names have a lot to do with, our paths in life and who we are. Mm-hmm. So Veronica, just tell us something interesting, like a little fun tidbit about your name or who you were named after or anything like that.
Let's see. When I think about my name, my parents, they said they chose it because it was a biblical name. But my family nickname is Ronnie. So everyone in my family, nobody calls me Veronica. So everybody calls me Ronnie. So it's like a family love name for me. So I keep it very sacred. So only my family is allowed to call me that.
Don't call me Ronnie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I actually tell people, no, that's reserved for my family. But yeah, so Veronica they chose it because it was biblical. And then my family, my immediate family called me Ronnie.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, welcome.
Thank
Veronica.
you.
And Ashley, what about you?
When I think about my name as well, Ashley Nicole, my parents just love the name, but I do have a nickname, and its origin is widely inappropriate.
Oh,
but yeah, if you're
fun.
a Prince fan, I don't know.
Yes.
But my brother, I have a brother, he's 5 years older than me, and growing up, he was obsessed apparently with acting like Michael Jackson and Prince and performing, and he just caught on to a song, I don't know if you've heard of it, My Darling Nikki, and so Nikki came from that.
Okay. Oh,
So only my family calls me Nikki.
I was going to say Nikki from Ashley, but that makes sense.
Yes.
That actually makes sense.
Yes.
So you all are doing very important work in our community. And that work is not only important, it's life-saving, life-affirming, and necessary. So if either one of you would like to tell us the name of your nonprofit and then how the name came about, and then we can get into your actual work and your mission.
Yeah, so...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The name came about from my husband, Latched.
Oh.
Yeah, he was just tinkering around. He's a creative too, and came up with the name Latched, and then it just kind of fell into Latched Support. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of fell and just continued that path, kind of blending it into more than just breastfeeding.
Right.
So it's all-encompassing when you think about when your baby's first life starts, and then also just the bonding between mom and baby. It really begins at that first latch as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Latch, when we had first just our story of how we met each other, we're both registered nurses working in the hospital as lactation consultants. So our interest of helping moms with breastfeeding, it started literally from the moment that we met, and she became my business partner by the end of our first shift of us working together.
One
shift.
One
Yeah.
shift.
So by the end of the shift, we were like, we have to do something, and it was to make an impact and change what we had been seeing in the hospital. So we both realized that moms were coming to the hospital and wanting us to go home with them and not having the support that they needed. And we recognized that, why is this happening? And more significantly, why is it happening more to Black moms feeling that they're not comfortable to ask nurses for help because there weren't a lot of Black nurses? That's just what it was. So we said we wanted to change that and make a statement with offering breastfeeding support group during Black Breastfeeding Week. Nobody had done it or been trying to recognize it in San Antonio. We had a small group of moms that were breastfeeding come out and support us, and those 12 moms at the end of that said, y'all have to continue. And all we had offered was just a safe space to talk about breastfeeding and to just champion what they had already been doing. But it just quickly grew to have an opportunity to do more than just supporting with breastfeeding. So it grew organically just from the relationships that we had started in that small moms group.
Right.
So, yeah.
So when you were both working as RNs in the hospital environment, what were some of the things that you saw? Can you think of like specific instances or examples that just compelled you to want to make a change?
Yeah, it was interesting because when we met, a lot of people do think that we knew each other prior. But when we met that first shift, we came together over experiences that we were witnessing in the hospital behind the scenes. Ugly comments from fellow colleagues, whether it be nurses or fellow lactation consultants, unfortunately. I know our experiences were so different, yet merged so well. Ugly comments, I know personally that I would hear. For me, sometimes people get a little too comfortable talking about racial situations, not knowing, because I am, I guess, racial ambiguity, or ambiguous. And so I would hear ugly comments that really bothered me. There would be lactation consultants that would say, I'm not going to go in that room and help that mom breastfeed because she's black, so she's not going to breastfeed. Or I'm not going to help that mom because she's a teenager and she's not going to breastfeed. So we just met, started talking about all of the things that we had heard separately, brought it together. She and I also were experiencing a lot of turmoil from the hospital that we were working at. That was horrible as well, so we kind of bonded over that too.
Yeah, I think we just realized when we were working in the hospital, when you are amongst people that you think have the same passion as you do for breastfeeding, but then you very quickly realize how the conversation shifts, and it's not a conversation of how we can help all, but only certain people. It really changes how you want to make a difference in that environment. But we recognized that the hospital wasn't where we wanted to start. We wanted to start in the community and really show moms that they can advocate for themselves to have a better experience, even if it is with a colleague that may have been in the profession for years. They still have to learn, how do I change how I care for you so that you'll be successful? So I know for me, one specific incident I can remember is a mom. It was her fourth baby. She had large breasts, and she said, I don't want a lactation consultant. And I was like, well, let me just come in. Let me just talk to you, see how you're doing. And she said, well, I appreciate you coming in. I didn't ask for a lactation consultant because the last time I had my baby, I was made to feel uncomfortable because I have larger breasts, and almost like my large breasts can't feed my baby. And I was like, well, that's not true. There's a way. I mean, I have black breasts myself. Let me help you. It's okay. So showing her different positions that allowed her to be comfortable and nurse her baby, she was able to latch. And seeing how appreciative she was of that experience of just somebody taking the time, it was that I knew it was that she was being helped by a black lactation consultant. And that was the first time that was something she even had the privilege to. And in our profession, there are not a lot of black lactation consultants, specifically in San Antonio. Maybe we're at 3 or 4 out of all that are even serving San Antonio.
3 or 4
black.
I thought you were going to say 3 or 4%, but you're saying 3 or 4 people.
And we're
Right.
doing the 3 or 4.
Right.
Right.
So it's very limited when we talk about diversity in our profession. And becoming an IBCLC, it's not as easy as it should be to get the credentials to be able to help. So there's inequalities even in that, trying to get the actual certification. But I feel like for moms, seeing somebody that looks like you, there is more comfort in asking for help because you know you won't be judged. Or if you have had a bad experience before, you know how to navigate it now. Right. So I think with Latched, us in the very beginning when we started in 2017, we were just preparing ourselves to have that conversation and build our own chair at the table to be able to speak to those experiences because we lived them. We've been able to hear the testimonies of the moms that we've helped of how it has made an impact, and why diversity is so important in the profession, and just continuing to meet clients where they are without the judgment. Absolutely. So I think we've built Latch off of that is our why of making sure we don't judge, and that's what's making us different as well.
Yeah. And I want to step back for a moment because You said earlier that you all, when you were experiencing these things, you weren't in like the general population of the hospital. You were in a lactation support unit,
Right.
and you were seeing these. So that shows how dire the circumstances, because these were people that were trained specifically for that.
Right.
But those patients are still not getting the proper care and attention. Yeah, that's.
I mean, you know, it's something that we often don't talk about also, but our experience in the hospital, not even what we've witnessed for patients, but what she and I went through. The comments that we were told as professionals in that field, that's what really ignited it, I think. And at the beginning, I think a lot of frustration and anger fueled us, and wanting to really make a difference.
Right.
You're not going to help that mom, we will, right? So that, and then just the families and the moms really want someone that's relatable.
Right.
And it just lacked that across the board.
Yeah.
So let's talk a minute about the actual, I get, because you started with the breastfeeding support, and I don't know if a lot of people realize that breastfeeding is not something that always comes naturally to new mothers. I think there's an idea that the baby like pops out, latches on, everything is beautiful and wonderful,
Right.
and you know, nature takes on, and then like Hakuna Matata starts
Right.
playing. So what is the reality of a lot of mothers who have just given birth?
Right. I think
Trying to breastfeed.
going into the hospital, I think we're almost probably at a 95% of women go into the hospital with the intent on actually breastfeeding. However, of those women going in, it's maybe only 5% or less that are making it out of their hospital stay, not introduce any formula at all, and not properly explain the importance of initiating breastfeeding and why that's so important for supply and demand. That will, you know, at least alleviate probably a lot of the early barriers that may prevent you from not breastfeeding. So I think as a system, we're not doing our best to prepare women to go into the hospital to learn about breastfeeding. And one of the things that we know is if women are introduced any type of breastfeeding education in their second and third trimester by more than just one person, it is highly likely that they will at least try. So once I'm in the hospital and I'm trying, staff still have to be prepared and skilled to help those mothers navigate challenges. And, you know, when baby comes, they may cry, they may make it seem like mom doesn't have what baby needs, but she does. And having that encouragement and that advocate of telling you, no, you're doing it right, it's so important. So I think across the city as a whole, our hospital systems, they are not meeting over that 5% of having moms discharge that are coming in saying they want to breastfeed, but somewhere along the way, a barrier is causing formula to be introduced and not properly educating on them on how to avoid it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't come easy for everyone. Sometimes it does look like the textbook in the movies that we see, but sometimes, you know, I either, especially if I, like Veronica said, I didn't get the education or the preparation early in pregnancy or throughout pregnancy on what breastfeeding actually can look like, or what to expect, or how to even position and latch the baby, then I can be up against quite a few barriers already. And then if I don't have the support in my village that is well prepared and well versed in breastfeeding, then I'm up against another barrier, and I feel like I'm at it alone. And so we really try to prepare them early. And then you have to think too, mom just went through a delivery. She just went through a whirlwind. Yes, you know. And you know, that's another one of our metrics, maternal mortality, right? And so we hope that if the delivery also didn't go as planned or something happened, breastfeeding is going to change. And if it changes too much, it'll become last on the list of priorities for those around, right? And so we have to have someone that really can help walk us through that journey. So we're excited that our entire team, we have trained them to where they are breastfeeding advocates, and they can help support a mom early on and walk that walk with her too.
I think what we have learned too is we've turned partners or dads that are coming in into lactation consultant advocates. So they're the ones saying, no, let her do skin to skin, allow her to have time for her golden hour.
Beautiful.
If baby baby is away,
Yes.
where is the pump? I will go get the pump for her, you know. So really empowering families with the tools so that they feel confident going into a possible scary environment, but feeling like they have some type of control and that they can make a decision, an informed decision about what's happening to this new life coming into the world.
It's been amazing to see the moms going in prepared. It's such a different outlook and perspective because then they come back so proud. I made it out of the hospital
Right.
exclusively breastfeeding. We've even made it's a cute little pocket-sized breastfeeding plan. And if a mom is, quiet or timid or isn't comfortable speaking up, you just put that in your baby's bassinet. And they know that you're with Latched, I've been well educated and informed, and I want to breastfeed, so support me.
Right.
And we've seen a difference and an impact with that too.
Right. Yeah.
I love that you said village earlier and you said family. And I would like to talk about how important it is for people to have that support of not just people like yourselves, but actually in the community. Like when you said the dads are advocates, I was like, yes, because it hasn't always been that way. It's been kind of like, well, that's the mom and the baby and their
Right.
thing. But it sounds like you all are educating the village,
Right.
Yes.
not just the mother.
Right.
So how do you approach, like with fathers? Because, men and women communicate differently and process information differently a lot of times. How do you encourage the fathers to be very active participants in this process?
Yeah, so we have family support specialists at Latch, and they each have their own caseload that they follow. Most of our families that come to us, they come early in their pregnancy. So throughout that time, we really encourage them to bring their support person. So most of the time, we have a lot of fathers involved because we've allowed that invitation for them or made those accommodations if they need an earlier appointment, something near lunch, or offering classes even on the weekend so it's accessible for them. Sometimes when you see a mom and she may be alone, it's not because dad is not involved, it's just because he may be working
Right.
or he may not be available to attend the appointment. So I think with virtual options, we're also able to include dad for him to watch things that maybe mom was able to talk about in person if he's not present later. And then at an appointment where he is able to come, or if they're able to both get on Zoom, we're able to facilitate that conversation and, guide the dad in the right way of how his role is so important with the pregnancy, with the delivery, and then once baby arrives.
I think also we've changed the way that a normal class or workshop would look like.
Okay.
Especially our breastfeeding. Our workshops are fun. They're engaging. We're playing games. We're bringing dad into it. Dad becomes the highlight of the conversation so he can feel important and know that his voice is heard and that his presence is needed.
Right.
And so with our breastfeeding class, that has been fun. I remember and reflect back when we used to teach them, and Marcus, that's a dad that sticks out to me.
Okay.
But he came in thinking, he said, my wife, she's not going to breastfeed.
Those are my breasts.
Those are my breasts.
Okay.
Yeah, but she made me come today.
Right.
And by the end of that class, he said, whoa, she's going to breastfeed.
Right.
I was taught wrong by my family. She's going to breastfeed. And they attended another one just because Marcus wanted to be well prepared.
Right.
So that was really awesome to see too. But we really changed. We even have taught our team, when you get up there to teach your workshop, you're not teaching, you're presenting and performing. Because you have to capture the attention, that way they'll be engaged and they want to listen and learn. So it's been fun.
Nobody wants to be lectured.
No,
No.
that's so boring.
Yeah, and there are a lot of teaching environments
Yes.
like that. I like that you said that it also is helpful to make the father feel important, because I think a lot of times we hear kind of horror stories about, a mother gives birth and then the father is like, I've been abandoned.
Yes.
So the way that you all are approaching, integrating everyone into this process, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even grandmothers, I think grandparents too, it's so important just to include them in the learning of what's new for baby safety and how to take care of baby. We've had grandmas that have said, no, she doesn't need to be breastfeeding. My boy grandson doesn't need to be on her breast. But then once you tell grandma, no, this is going to help him have less sickness of the belly. This is going to save money. You're going to have a healthier grandson. The perspective changes. I think because back in the day, there is history, and there's a lot of history around breastfeeding, or in certain communities, formula companies would come in
Absolutely.
and not offer any lactation support and primarily only offer formula. Yeah. So in some of those communities, in those neighborhoods, it wasn't seen, it was seen as lactation isn't for me. It's too like classy. And formula, if I can afford it, I'm of a higher class. Right. Now we're trying to change the dialogue of saying, no, we want to have the option of healthier option for our baby for growth and development. And this is how, if you are choosing to breastfeed. So it's been interesting also to see how grandparents are reteaching themselves about what's important for healthiness for their grandkids.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think culturally, like looking at the cultural component, that the sort of natural way was for us to breastfeed our own children. But because of history, there were times when that was interrupted and we were not able to because we were breastfeeding other people's children.
Exactly.
And so that's definitely a large part of, I think, why there's the idea that, you know, breastfeeding may not be for us.
Right.
It's so good to see that reclamation of that. And then there's also like the sovereignty part of like you literally giving this to your child. I mean, it's really beautiful. So we're talking about breastfeeding, but you all do a lot more than breastfeeding education and support. So you started with Latched, and it still is Latched Support, but you've expanded. So what are some of the other community services that you all offer?
Yeah.
So we offer a multitude. It's really a holistic approach of making the pregnancy, postpartum, and parenting journey easier and healthier. When Veronica and I would go home to home way back when, 6 years ago, we would go in with just the breastfeeding hat. And we thought, we're just helping moms breastfeed. We just really want to make a difference and increase breastfeeding rates. But when we would leave a home, we would see either an unhealthy or a dangerous environment. And we would leave thinking, gosh, I wish this mom knew this. I wish this mom was educated on this. Or it was an unhealthy situation for mom and her health. So we had to pause and tap into our nursing hat. And so from there, each program and service naturally grew on its own. And I love that about Latched because we maintain that grassroots approach at its forefront. So now we offer parenting and pregnancy education, and it's tailored to the top educational topics that we know a mom needs to know throughout her pregnancy to have a healthier postpartum experience. And then also we offer parenting topics as well, like potty training, tantrums, all of those that can be a stressor in a parent's life.
Indeed.
And can lead to, you know, different unhealthy and unsafe situations. So now our education is at the forefront. So breastfeeding is sprinkled throughout, definitely, and we have a lactation consultant on site as well to help. But we really want to follow the mom throughout her pregnancy, catch up with her again and follow along postpartum, and then throughout her parenting until her child turns 3. And so we offer different services such as car seat safety. That one came about, honestly, in a very interesting way. I have to say we were guilty of giving car seats away for free because we enjoy giving things for free that the community loves and needs, right? So we loved giving car seats away for free. But then we thought, hang on a second, let's do a study. Let's do our own little pilot. We invited 20 families, come on out to our office, bring your car seats, and let our team inspect them. And not one had their car seat installed correctly.
That's scary.
Also, throughout COVID, when we would support families and we would do a drive-through component to offer essential supplies and material assistance, and we would see children on the floorboard or not in a car seat. And so from there, we said, no, we had to get our entire team certified. So they are all certified car seat technicians. So we'll definitely provide you a free car seat still, but we want to teach you how to put it in safely. So that's one that we're really proud of as well, and we started that last year. Also, our offices are strategically located in the highest rates of SIDS, sudden infant death rates. And so our team are also certified ambassadors, safe sleep ambassadors. So we talk to a mom about, what does safe sleep look like? Do you have a safe sleep environment? If not, we'll provide you a crib. And we're going to teach you how to safely sleep your baby in an effort to decrease the rates of SIDS as well. What else? Gosh, I don't want to forget anything we offer.
I just want to add too, for our safe sleep, it's so important to just highlight that because the San Antonio rates have risen again, and SIDS rates are going up. So that's telling us that either parents are, their stress level is higher, so calming my baby in the middle of the night is a little bit more difficult. So babies are coming to the bed, which is a little, it's unsafe for the baby. So making sure that families are educated on how unsafe, if they roll over on the child, or just the appropriate mattress is so important. But we've been to families' houses that they didn't have a safe sleep for their baby, but they at least knew that, let me pull this dresser or drawer out, and it's at least a soft, flat bottom that I can put my child in. So it's really meeting families where they are, because sometimes it's not always just, let me give you something shiny and new. It's what do you have in your current environment that we can show you how to appropriately use to still keep your baby safe. And if you don't necessarily have a place that you're staying at, this is something that's mobile with you that can leave. Or if you don't have a home that you're staying at consistently, this is how you make the environment safe for your baby to sleep. So it's really important just for us to make sure we're staying up with the trends of what's happening in the community.
Right.
I think another thing that's really on the forefront too of the pregnancy education is making sure that families have access and are going to their prenatal care appointments regularly. Because, women are still not doing that. They'll wait later on into the pregnancy.
Try to cram it all in.
And cram it all in. It's so important to go early. So we walk with them early and teach them. Make sure you have a doctor. But not only a doctor that you like.
Right.
That you're comfortable with and that treats you right.
Right.
Because you can always, Veronica likes to say, you can always fire your doctor.
You can always fire your doctor.
Absolutely.
You can.
Absolutely.
So we make sure that they're comfortable. That's a check that our team, are you comfortable with your doctor? Did you get to pick your doctor?
Yeah.
And that's so empowering, because I think a lot of us look at the medical community as they know everything.
Right.
And so that we cannot advocate for ourselves. We can't push back. We can't offer our opinions. We can't even say, I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
So it's wonderful that you're asking that question to kind of kickstart that process.
Yes.
Right.
Like, am I uncomfortable?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's very necessary.
So we like to make sure they have everything ready before baby arrives. We talk about taking care of your newborn, how to feed the baby, calm the baby, all of those things so that mom feels well prepared as well. And then postpartum checking in, because maternal mortality rates are very high, especially amongst our Black and brown community.
Right.
And I actually met Veronica in a really vulnerable state in my life for my second child, where I experienced postpartum morbidity myself. And being a postpartum nurse, you would not think I was well educated. And here I am, I had postpartum eclampsia. But you don't get that until days after the hospital, so it's a silent killer.
Right.
And by the time I was finally heard, because I was ignored in the ER 3 times, finally heard, the cardiologist said, wow, one more day you wouldn't be here. I was in heart failure. So now we're following moms to really make sure, are you recovering? Are you going to your postpartum check-in? Because it's very important that you go to that. And then just making sure that they know the warning signs to look for after delivery when they go home. Because, there's also the story that we helped a mom.
Teen mom.
And this was when we were doing home visits as well. And we went in there with the breastfeeding hat on, thinking we're just going to help breastfeed, right? But I remember when I talked to her on the phone, something sounded a little funny because she said the baby's constantly hungry and she doesn't know what's going on. So it was an 18-year-old female. When we went into the home, for us as the nurses and lactation consultants, we know 18-year-old female, she was
Healthy
pregnancy, had a delivery. Then at the stage in which we were seeing her a few days postpartum, her breast milk should be coming forward fluidly, right? But we could not even get a drop. So then we thought, wow, let's pause for a second and dive deep. What's going on? And then we found out that there was a language barrier while in the hospital. She was 18, so ignored a lot. Her mom spoke Spanish only. And they didn't take the time to really translate everything that was being told to the mom, the teen mom. And they did tell her that it was normal to have a fever postpartum. And they sent her home with Motrin 800 and Tylenol codeine. So she was doing what she was instructed to do, and she was taking the medication around the clock, every 4 to 6 hours. Well, what we found out was she was hiding a fever. She was masking that fever. And we said, wait a second, pause on breastfeeding. You need to go into the doctor and let's see what's going on. She actually got readmitted to the hospital and had to undergo surgery. She was already septic at that point.
Oh, she could have died.
She had retained fragments inside from her C-section. So it's like, oh my gosh, this mom, and she stayed in the hospital for 10 days. We checked on her. Of course, by that time, breastfeeding was out the window, right? We're saving a life.
Right.
And thankfully, she survived. Her and baby are still doing well today. But it's just situations like that that the mom doesn't know what to look for postpartum. And it's so important. And that's not the only time it's happened to us where we've had to do that. So that really led to our postpartum education. You've got to know the warning signs. And you have to speak up for yourself, even if no one will.
Right. Even now, I think as we continue to grow Latch and we think about what the community is still needing, postpartum mental health services is still an area that as a city we're not doing a good job with. A lot of moms experiencing postpartum anxiety, depression, and they don't really have a clear outlet to go to without being shamed. We've had so many moms say, I voiced this to my pediatrician, but the first thought was to call CPS. And it's like, whoa, what was even the conversation? It's like, because if that was your outcry, now you're never going to tell anybody how you're really feeling and to get the support that you really need. So I know as a city we can do better, and as Latch, we're doing our best to make sure that we're identifying those needs and we're asking moms how we can continue to support them and providing that support group and safe space for them to come back to. So there's still a lot of work to support the pregnant woman and make sure that she's having that healthy pregnancy and postpartum, so that it's a healthy family unit.
Right. Now, there was a statistic that Tiffany shared with me. She sent me a voice message earlier, and she's like, make sure you ask them about this. And I wasn't aware of this, that San Antonio in particular has the highest infant morbidity rate?
Mortality.
Thank you, not morbidity rate. Yeah, that's shocking. Sorry, it just really hit me when I said it out loud again. Yeah. So is that something, I know you don't want to scare your clients and patients, but is that something that you sort of impress upon them to help them understand the urgency of your work and that they follow certain protocols, regarding safety and all of that?
I think we're doing our best to show moms why it's so important to get educated about having a healthy pregnancy, staying connected to a doctor, and they understand the importance how their life could be in danger or potentially something with their child. So I think us having those open conversations and not afraid to share the statistics with them, it's now making a bigger impact and allowing us to have those conversations. When our clients are going to their first appointment, if they're telling us, oh, I'm out in 30 seconds of my doctor's appointment, it's like, whoa, what are 5 questions you're going to ask your doctor when you go the next time? Here's a notepad so you can write down what your blood pressure is so you can track it, because you're your best advocate so that nothing happens during your pregnancy or your postpartum period. So I think giving the tools have now allowed for those conversations to be more open, and it has allowed for us to hear actually more testimonies of moms feeling mistreated or scared about their now subsequent pregnancy because of whatever experience they had with their first. So.
And we do like to always be open and honest and transparent with our families, because I'm asking you to get educated, and I'm asking you to listen to me talk about safe sleep or car seat safety. I always like to lead with the why.
Everything is in the why.
Yes, I do. Because then if I'm telling you, and we say it in a not scary way, we say it in a gentle way so that we don't scare the mom that's pregnant, but we do tell them, I want to talk about safe sleep because this is what's going on in San Antonio. This is what's going on in Bexar County. I want you to be aware so that we know what to look for and we know how to get through this together. And I think our families appreciate that about us, because we like to be open in that aspect.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, too, it's interesting, too, even how our landscape continues to change, because now this is a second hospital that is closing. Texas Vista Medical Center is closing. We lost Northeast
Baptist,
Central, or
Northeast
Northeast Baptist, all within the last 3 years. Those were both laboring hospitals where women had access to maternal health
Northeast
care.
Baptist off of like
Starcrest.
Yeah, that's where I had my son. I didn't know they were. Wow.
So imagine now all the women in that area now having to now either go downtown or go further north to the Stone Oak area is now the closest delivery hospital. So when we're talking about returning to the hospital, if I'm having a postpartum complication, I need to know, and everybody around me needs to know what that looks like, so we're being proactive and responding if something happens. So it's really interesting how we have to understand there's so many layers, so many systemic layers with that.
Indeed.
That we have to address. It's not just at this grassroots level that Latched is hoping to impact, but higher ups with making changes to our laws and making sure moms have care that first year after delivery. Why are we cutting off medical insurance for a mom if we know they can still have a postpartum hemorrhage up to 12 weeks after delivery? Why are we not having extended option for them to even return to their OBGYN if something comes up? So there's lots of issues that continue to like pull back the layers of the onion, but we're just happy that we're able to at least make an impact at this grassroots level to teach women and educate them to advocate for themselves.
Yeah, and then when we think about the 2 hospitals that closed, well, what was the population in the community that was highly hit by that? Our
Right.
Black and brown community.
Right.
So now they have to figure out how to travel further
Right.
to get to the prenatal care, to get to the hospital in time,
Right.
and to get the education, because typically when you think about getting education throughout pregnancy, you think about going to your hospital.
Right.
When they're not going to the hospital for the education. So we have to think about who is this impacting,
Right.
but it's oftentimes not looked at.
Yeah.
Right.
The work that you all are doing is so important. Last weekend, my days were a blur. I think it was last weekend, I went to an event in Austin, and a lovely sister named Kidada Ross did like a fundraiser or a benefit for the first Black-owned birthing center to be in Austin. And it's interesting because I'm listening to you all speak, and I'm hearing echoes of the same conversations surrounding, you know, Black women primarily being unheard in the hospital setting, and then going to like midwives and doulas to have, you know, continuity of care and to have provisions for having just being heard and having their voice, you know, validated and recognized. So I'm hearing you all talk about, you know, all these things going on around in San Antonio. Where are you all from? Are you from San Antonio? Did you grow up here? Are you military? Because this is one of those cities where it's like people are in because I can tell that you love the people of the city and the women. So what brought you here? How'd you end up here? Because no one's really from here, I feel.
I am from San Antonio.
You are.
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it is interesting. We both are from San Antonio,
Yeah,
born and
love it.
raised.
So I was wrong.
It's interesting too, because when we talk to people who aren't from San Antonio, they often say, "Wow, you stayed," and it's like, yes, we like the community here.
Yeah.
It has grown so much from being a military child, going to school on Lackland, and now seeing the full development of what the city has become. It is still mind-blowing where our population is growing, but there is a need here, and we definitely have stepping up to the plate, really, and created a table of our own to really answer the call of what we felt was needed, because nobody else was doing this. And if they were doing it, how well were they doing it? Or what's new? Or what impact have you been making now to change what the need of the community, or ask the community what they need, actually?
Yeah, I think oftentimes when we're asked, well, is there someone else doing what you're doing? Well, in a way, they're just sending, you know, majority of the time it's resource giving.
Right.
When for us, we have the opportunity to look at our families and our approach in a community aspect, but also as nurses in a medical aspect.
Right.
So the education that we provide, you can imagine, it's just it's high level, but we make it easy to understand. And we make sure we hit everything to make sure that those families have that safety net, and at least have a healthier opportunity.
So people need to put some respect on your names because
Right.
you are medical professionals
Right.
doing this work.
Right.
And that does give you an extra layer of I don't want to say validity, but it does. I think people can feel more assured that, you know, you're there for the community, it's grassroots, but there's the science behind it.
Right,
There's
right.
you know, you did your time in the hospital.
Yes.
Yes.
And I have to say, probably, and it's sad to think of it in that way, but our credentials have probably helped us be able to speak and yell as loud as we have about the issues that we have seen. Had we not had the credentials behind our name, we may have not been able to even have a platform to talk about it or to create something for mothers in the way that we have. So it is interesting. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes, but it is something that we take with pride, our nursing knowledge, to help us to be able to see it from both sides of the coin, and not just, we can pitch it to a doctor, but we can also pitch it to a community organization of how we both together need to come up with a better plan. So it's been good.
So I know from being on the periphery of, there are a lot of nonprofit organizations in Texas, and I have known people over the years that have either, you know, founded them or been a part or volunteered. And we were talking briefly before the show, and I was asking, like, so, you know, do you do this 100% of the time? Do you have, you know, day jobs? Or so you all both shared with me that there was a time, like at the inception of your organization, that you were really having to work hard to balance.
Right.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you all? Because I know there were some sacrifices you had to make, and I'd love to talk about that.
There are lots.
There was a lot of sacrifice.
You're like,
A lot of tears.
Yes.
A lot of, should we continue?
Right.
Let's quit today.
yeah.
Let's quit together. You know, but with our family support also, that got us through, and the support of one another too, coming together. And you know, it's so crazy when we reflect now, we didn't know each other. And so to continue this, at the beginning, it was a struggle. No one wanted to listen to us. No one wanted to believe in us, except moms. They would open the doors of their home for us.
Right.
And allow us to come in and help them in such a vulnerable time of their life.
Right.
But there were times, now we're entering our 6th year since inception.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And the first 3 years, though, we were 100% volunteer.
Not getting paid. Like, let's make that
Yes,
very
okay,
clear.
Okay, volunteer means that, yes, in kind, I suppose, yes. But we were doing that while working in the hospital, or doing other things as well. And slowly but surely, I think I took the leap first, and then Veronica took the leap. And we still, believe it or not, before we did it, we still had no funding. And we were still volunteering.
Wow.
Right.
It was about the 2nd year, maybe 2 years, 2.5 years. But the reason we did is because we were so busy helping moms.
Right.
And we just believed in it so much. We're doing it full time for free.
Right.
And that's why I say it was the support of our family that got us through.
It had to be.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And we would get asked that question. So how do you do it? How are you paying for this? We're doing it for free.
Right.
And we're asking for donations of different things. You know, whenever one thing, the diapers started, was the very first material assistance that we offered. But everything else, the education, the support, it was just us.
Yeah.
Offering it one mom at a time.
Yeah, I remember back when we had started, I literally told Ashley, I think today's the day. I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. I think I'm going to just move back home. I'm going to quit. So I did. I moved back home for a year and a half, and that is a huge sacrifice to go from your own space back to your parents' space.
Did you have a curfew?
I did. The alarm still went on at a certain time, and I appreciate that. I can always go home, but it was it was hard.
Yeah.
But I think what we realized too was, whoa, we are not building this ship. It is building itself right in front of us, and really going where we were celebrated, not tolerated. And going where we are right now at Crossroads Church, where our office is at on Walsham, you know, you can't talk about a better people supporting us and opening the door and allowing us to build and be an anchor even in that building, and without boundary, allowing us to grow of what we need to be successful. You just can't find that everywhere. So we have had these huge rocks put in our lives of people who have just been so supportive that we didn't do it alone.
No.
We have been on this guided ship that we can't even phantom this 6 years ago.
Right.
It would have grown to what it is now, and what it will continue to grow to, not at the doing of us, but at the doing of a higher spirit and just the people around us supporting us. So it's been a beautiful thing to even watch those that gave us our first $25 now saying, whoa, y'all are doing all of that?
Yes.
So it is an amazing feeling to just be proud of it and to stop for a second and be like, whoa, we're here, we're talking to you about this. It's like getting me a little choked up because it's just so powerful to know that we just believed in ourselves and we took a chance and we didn't allow anybody around us to discourage us from something that we knew was going to be important.
Which was hard to do. And the church, that was hard to do. And the church that we're located at, also that she spoke about, Crossroads Church, shout out to Bev. Oh my gosh, Bev and Pastor Brian. Bev is one of the best people in the world.
Yeah.
But I literally remember Veronica told me she was still working at that time. So we were paying for everything ourselves out of pocket, right?
Yeah.
And she said, you have
Find
to
a space.
find us an office. Find us an office in this area. I said, okay. I went knocking door to door. Everyone kept saying no or so much money. I said, I can't afford it. We can't afford this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And Veronica's good at keeping us on that budget too. And so she said, this is the number. I said, okay, I'm going to keep trying. And I knocked on that door for Bev. She opened it. I felt like I was selling Girl Scout cookies because I was like, please, please. And I went in there. All I did was tell her what we did. And she didn't ask for an amount. She just said, we're going to make it work. And I remember leaving crying, telling her, oh my gosh, we found a space.
Yeah.
And from there, we went from one office, then we went, Bev, can we have another one? Can we have another one? Can we have another one? And if you came to see it today, they've allowed us to blossom and be us, which has been a great partnership with them.
Right. Yeah.
So, speaking of coming to see you, so you're located at Crossroads Church. I think I know exactly. It's like, is that near Mid-Crown and Waltham?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the process like? Like if there's a woman, we're doing a live stream, people are watching live, but then someone may see this 6 months from now and have that feeling that, oh, this is exactly what I need because I'm alone and I'm overwhelmed. So what does the process look like for someone to get in contact with you and to register? Do they just walk in the doors at certain hours, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so we have our location off of Mid-Crown and Waltham, and we're located in Crossroads Church. Families can reach out to us through our website, latchedsupport.com. They can self-refer, or anybody can refer them, or they can give us a call to our office. We offer, if you need assistance and you are a walk-in, we do our very best to make sure that we're meeting your need and we're serving you. But we are not income-based, and we pride ourselves in that too, because we had so many families that you can make $1 above an amount to get a very needed resource, but now you're ineligible because of that money amount. So it's like, do I take a job that pays me less just so I have this benefit that my family needs? So we do not, no income. The only eligibility is you have to be pregnant or have a child under the age of 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
the website's
rare,
the
the no income based, because I think with a lot of resources that are offered to the public, whether they're government based or, a private program or entity, there is that stipulation that you have to fall in between. And so many people are left out because of that.
Right.
And then there has to be a trade-off. And sometimes that trade-off is really detrimental to you. It's like,
Right.
okay, well, I'll quit my job now.
Right.
So that I can, feed my family, that sort of
Right.
thing. So that's wonderful that you all decided to do
Yeah.
it, structure it that way.
Right.
Yes, from the beginning we knew we did not want to have that stipulation. We want to help all moms because every mom really needs our services.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And so we really, from the beginning, have stayed true to that.
And we used to joke, we used to start in the hood and end in the Dominion.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
Because all walks of life, regardless of your socioeconomic class, you all need help with breastfeeding. And we want to be able to offer that resource and it not be eliminating somebody because they may not be able to afford it.
Right.
So,
So I know that with nonprofits, I don't know if everyone, maybe understands how nonprofits work. There are people, patrons, right? But how can like a person of the general public, if they're watching this, like, God, they're just really doing great work. How can they support you? Do you all take volunteers for things? Like, do you have a channel that people can donate to?
yeah. So through our website too, we also have an option that families can donate to us. We say that every $100 that we get, it can provide a crib and a safe space for a baby. Every $50 will provide a car seat for a baby to ride safely in a vehicle. And every $20 will buy a family at least a box of diapers. So we really encourage families to give monetarily, but we also have volunteers that come and help us pack those diapers that we get. So we are relying on our volunteers so much. So reaching out to us again through the website if they're interested in volunteering. We usually do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there's usually opportunities throughout the year to help in office or for community events that we're having.
Okay. Do you all have any community events coming up that you want to talk about?
Yeah, we actually have our community baby shower coming. We have one
Oh, that's
next.
cute, community baby.
Yeah.
They're fun too.
Yeah,
They're fun.
we have one coming up next Saturday at our Walsham location. And last year we actually took an initiative to start branching out to surrounding cities as well. So we have one the following week as well, on March 24th at Corpus Christi. So we're doing a lot of work outside of San Antonio because we recognize there's so many rural families that can't make it into the city, but they still need car seats.
Yes.
They still need the education, even if their county has one hospital that everybody delivers at. How do I advocate for myself? Then we have annually our
Trunk or treat.
Trunk or treat.
Our trunk or treat is so
okay.
fun, yes, and that really, we need a lot of volunteers for that one. We have so many different fun stations and activities for the children, and you can just come out and have fun as well. And there's different opportunities just sprinkled throughout that we have for volunteers to help. So we definitely appreciate our volunteers any chance that they can come to support.
Do volunteers need to have like any particular qualifications? I know these are questions that people will ask, while they're watching. Do they need to be certified in anything? They can just show up with willing hands.
Yeah,
and
they can just
willing
call.
heart.
Reach out through us through
Yeah.
the website, and they can call and get in contact. One of our managers will get out to them right away. And then usually they really like to start with packing the diapers.
Yeah.
It is fun. Kind of play the music. They can pack the diapers,
Yes.
and that's really helpful too because we get a huge shipment of diapers in, and we have to pack them.
Right.
So that is very
Yes.
helpful too.
During those summer months, please send your teens.
Oh, yes.
Send your teens. Yes.
Get them out the house so they don't eat all their food up.
Yes, we will give them a snack and some water and keep them busy.
They love it too.
Yeah.
Though. I love when teens come to volunteer and just pay it forward. They love it and they get something out of it too.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm really, I'm feeling that the community really is at the heart of everything that you're doing. Like, yes, it's about the mothers. Yes, it's about the babies. But, bringing out the teens, making sure the fathers get an education, making sure that everyone has community and support. So kudos to you all for doing that. Because I think we all know what it feels like when we have people sort of talk at us rather than talk to us. Or they're serving, but they're not serving from the heart. They're just kind of there going through the motions. And you all are doing the exact opposite of that. So that's really beautiful. So I'm curious, you've done so much. And I was actually, I'm going to have to unlock my phone, y'all bear with me. I was going to ask you what some of your goals were for the future, but I want to read some statistics that were like mind-blowing to me, and give y'all your flowers and your pop your collar a little bit, because you all have, I just want the audience to understand the impact. And this is based on 2020, so I'm sure it's changed by then. But you have, hold on, let me scroll down. Where is it? Oh dear, did I post that much? I did, goodness, hold on. Okay, well this is awkward. I can't find one moment, but I shared some of the statistics from your site, and you have given over 200, and you know what, let me just go to your website. this is probably something that I should have just written down. I'm like, oh, I have my phone. But maybe you all even know. I don't know if you remember. You probably know your own.
Yes. I was just sharing the number with Veronica for.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Okay. The website is an older one. We have the 2021 that we just pulled and ran, and we did 3,500 prenatal appointments.
That's huge.
Last year. Yeah,
That's
how impactful.
huge.
Yes. And we served over 3,500 children.
Right.
So that was amazing. We gave over 400 car seats that were installed correctly and safely. So we're really proud of that. And then we were proud of too. Also, we are in some hospitals, so you can see us postpartum. Whenever you're in the hospital, you get to know that, oh, I can see Latched, and then I can make sure I have a safety net to go home to too, so we can check in on you. So that's been amazing. And like Veronica shared too, last year we took it out of San Antonio. So last year we went to Dallas, Houston, Uvalde was the first one, Laredo. We've gone to so many different places, and the reason we went there, we always go where we're guided. Social media. Moms reached out to us and said, we have nothing like you here, and I need your help.
Right.
So we took our baby shower, we packed it up, we made the most important educational topics on there, which we know families need, which was preparing for breastfeeding and car seat safety. We packed up a U-Haul full of car seats. And we went to those cities and we educated the families, we celebrated their pregnancy, and they left with a car seat.
Right.
Wow.
So that's been amazing to see.
That is amazing. I found what I was looking for. So this is based on 2020. We're in 2023 now, so there's some, lapse in between there, but 228,392 diapers, baby items, food, feminine products, and clothing distributed. That's huge. And I don't know, and then you assist, well, this is as of 2020, over 1,000 parents and children monthly. But I think you said it's 3,500 now.
Monthly, it's over 1,000.
Yes. So I just want to stress the importance of, for our viewers, when you are led in your heart or in spirit to do something, do it. Because I feel like there were plenty of opportunities where you all could have just said, this is too hard, it's too much, it's too stressful, or people are telling us no. But I don't think y'all take no. I don't think.
I always tell Veronica, if we hear no, we're talking to the wrong person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you think, I'm curious, that comes from? Is it like your family structure? Is it a faith thing? Or is it because it takes a certain kind of person to just say, okay, well, you're not going to give me this, then I'm going to make it. I heard you say, one of you said, bring your own seat to the table earlier. Where do you think that comes from for the both of you?
I think for me, just growing up with both of my parents and them instilling those values of, you can achieve it if you can dream it. And just, I've always been somebody that has said, I want to work for myself, and if I'm going to push myself, I want to be pushing myself hardest for me.
Yes.
I think it just magically aligned with Ashley, and that we both have this synergy that just works. And I mean, even I look at her, I'm like, we love each other at this point, and that's something that's not even common with relationships with women and with friendships. So I really value that we're able to grow our business relationship, but then grow a friendship along the way. So it's been good. And then her also able to see me through huge milestones of me getting married and now me being pregnant with my own child. These are milestones that I really appreciate. I have a village, and I have a village now in Latch too, that people are supporting me, and I'm confident that we have that great relationship with each other too.
I actually feel that between you all, and it's really beautiful. I think the visual of seeing Black women affirming one another and saying I love her and being able to build businesses together, it's so important. So what you all are doing in your work is important, but also the fact that people can see oh, they get along.
Right.
They're not being catty.
Right.
Every friendship has its moments, but you all really do care for one another.
Yeah.
How do you, I've heard like married couples say like, oh, I don't want to work with my spouse because it's nonstop. How do you all balance though, like being friends, but also working together all the time? How does that, are there challenges to that?
I
or?
can't hide my emotions anymore.
I've been waiting.
She can read me like a book.
But now we're going through the pregnancy journey
Yeah.
together. I get to go with her through her pregnancy.
Yes.
And so that's awesome, too.
Yeah.
It's so fun to be able to see
Yeah.
her as she goes through this
Right.
huge milestone. But how do we balance it? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, because I always think about married couples. Like I have several friends who are entrepreneurs and they're married and they work together, they go home together, you know, that sort of thing. Obviously, you have your own home.
Sure. Yes.
But I'm just curious, like, you know, being friends and being in business together, there's probably, you have to approach things a little bit differently than if
Sure.
it were someone you have no
Right.
relationship
Right.
with outside of just being business partners.
Yeah.
But I think ours came the opposite way. We weren't friends first.
Right.
And
Right.
so we built a business just not knowing each other, had
Right.
to trust each other. I mean, I remember even starting everything with just, we would pay out of pocket half, half, but it's never been a state of distrust
Yeah.
for us.
Right.
Our competition with each
Or
other.
no, we're not talking competition for competition. It's always been supportive.
Yeah.
If she wanted to do something, I support her, vice versa. And then we do have two awesome husbands that support us, that we go home to support us as well.
They volunteer.
Volunteer,
They've been through the struggle.
yes. But how do we balance it? I don't know if you have a better answer for that.
And I don't want it to make it seem like it was easy either.
Oh, that's
And that's
true.
kind of
Because
what
it has been hard. There have been times that we have just cried and laid on the floor and been like, what have we done? But then we'd have to get up and realize, if we didn't do this, what would have happened? So I think the level of motivation too for us in the beginning too was like, whoa, we just made a huge impact with that mom and made a life-changing moment for her be something that could have possibly saved her life. It's like, whoa, you can't get any bigger than that, of feeling that this is more than just about us. And, in the long term too, even though we are the founders and we're the executive directors now, we hope that the impact that we are building Latched to be, it's going to be sustainable beyond just us.
Right.
And we're going to be able to replicate it beyond just San Antonio, and us show the value of what we've collected, why it's so important to replicate it in other places. But yeah, I think just having the value in we celebrate each other. We both are strong in our different ways and it works. And also building a work culture of, we have a team of women. We're not going to be catty here.
No.
We're not going to be mean. Like, there's no reason for us to talk or be ugly. And if that was the workspace you were involved before, that's not the culture here.
Leave it behind.
Like,
Yes,
if you
yes.
hear us in our office, we are laughing loudly
Loud.
and enjoying life. It's okay. But, even with stressors, it's also okay to, when we're at work, it's professional, but let's have fun along the way.
Yes.
But we're talking about 6 years now. We had to learn one another.
Okay.
So we've learned each other
Yeah.
over the years. And so now we know the impact and the importance, and we're
Yeah.
just so thankful that we can pour it into our team as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I really wanted to hear, because it is so affirming to see Black women doing things together in concert for the greater good of everyone. And it's not about like, well, this is my position and this is my position, or this is my half and your half. You're really working together
Yes.
Right.
to create something beautiful that absolutely will be long lasting and continue to grow.
Right.
Well, I got a sign from our producer assistant that we have just a few minutes left. So I just want to give you all an opportunity again to reiterate where people can find you, what your social media channels are, and how people can reach out if they need your services.
Absolutely. If you would, just check out our website, latchedsupport.com, and you can get connected with services there if you'd like to volunteer or donate through there. Also, follow us on our Facebook and Instagram, Latched Support on both of those, and TikTok. And just follow us. And I always tell families, if you're nervous to come visit us at first, follow our socials and get to know us. I think you're going to like us and feel comforting and warmth, that it spills through, and then get connected with us too.
Yeah. And we really appreciate our donors too. In order for us to continue to push the mission forward, we do need support. And although we're a grant-funded organization, our donors are our biggest believers. So definitely reach out to us if there's a way that you can help help in any capacity, even and beyond monetary, we really, really appreciate all those nuggets that come to us,
It all
because
adds up.
yeah, we need our village to keep us too.
And either moms as well, we love when moms pay it forward. They'll bring us new or gently used baby clothes that they maybe didn't use or didn't use that much, because we have a latched closet where moms can shop in as well. Yeah. So that, sometimes they'll bring unused diapers that baby outgrew. You can just drop those off at our Walsham location.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here, both of you. It was a pleasure and an honor, and I really, really want to just commend you, I guess, and say that I'm very proud to know that we have women here in our community doing this work. It's so important. So
Thank
I
you so
look
much.
forward to seeing your growth and your expansion. I know it's coming because I know you all don't take no for an answer. So with that being said, everyone, latchedsupport.com. Please go check them out. Support in any way that you can. And until next time.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for having us.
See, that wasn't so bad.